Hey, my name is Mike, and this is a too long didn't read guide for the Antoran High Command on Normal and Heroic. There's 3 bosses in total, but only 1 active at a time. Every 1.5 minutes, the bosses will rotate. Depending on the boss, you'll face certain mechanics. Each active boss only does one ability called Exploit Weakness. This hits anyone in a frontal cone, applying a 20-second debuff that increases the damage they take by 50%. Tanks will want to swap around 2 stacks. When a boss is active, the pod behind them should be controlled by a player. Keep in mind that the longer you're in the pod, the more damage you take. On normal, you'll get kicked out automatically, but if you notice you're taking a lot of damage and may die, jump out of the pod and let someone else take over. On Heroic, you'll want to get out at about 20 stacks. Also on Heroic, once you leave a pod, you can't enter another one for 3 minutes. For this reason, you'll want to have 3 groups of at least 3 players that rotate in each pod. Every pod has the same number 1 ability, and you should be spamming this when number 2 is on cooldown. It deals high damage and makes your target take more damage. Try to focus the boss with this unless your raid is struggling with ads. The 2 inactive bosses share an ability called Chaos Pulse. This hits a random person numerous times and gives them a stacking 6-second debuff that increases the damage they take. Earlier in the fight, you can just let this debuff run out, but later in the fight, you'll want to dispel around 9 stacks. When Admiral Sphereaxe is the active boss, you'll have a bunch of mines to avoid and 2 sets of ads will spawn. Interrupt Pyroblast on the Pyromancer, and the Shock Troopers will charge one of the 3 furthest players. As soon as they hit anyone, they stop and do an AoE for 6 seconds that you should avoid. For this reason, melee makes sure you're never in their charge path. Whoever controls Admirals Pod will be able to use the number 2 ability to target an area to be hit with an AoE. Any ads in this area will take a lot of damage and get a 10-second debuff that increases the damage they take. This ability does not affect the boss. When Chief Engineer Ishkar is active, you'll no longer have any mines, but you will still have ads. You'll now also get an ability called Fusilade that does raid-wide AoE. It does more damage each time it happens. The person in the pod will use their number 2 ability to spawn Fell Shield emitters. You'll want to spawn at least 3 at the current pod and 3 at the next one. Players can click this emitter and will spawn a 10-second shield that reduces the damage of Fusilade by 50%. When General Erodus is active, you will no longer have ads, but you will have mines and Fusilade. The person in the pod will use their number 2 ability to destroy clumps of mines. It's very important that there is 3 Fell Shield emitters here from the previous pod so you don't have to drag the boss around. You can use your offensive cooldowns on pull and defensives during the later Fusilades. That was a too long didn't read guide for the Antoran High Command on Normal and Heroic. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know down below in the comments. Thanks for watching, have a super day!